So I don't know that we're going to get anything done, but we're going to have a lot of fun.
So much fun.
We're going to have so much fun.
Welcome to the Sherwood Oaks Stories podcast. We love telling life-changing faith stories, and today, Shawn sits down with Kelley Dawson to talk about life, their journey of adoption, and how to create little moments of joy throughout the day. Thanks for joining us.
Well, Kelley, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you do just a little bit of an introduction? Tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Kelley Dawson. I am a mom and a wife. We have 4 children in our home, in our family right now. We've adopted all 3 of our children through foster care. And we're fostering our son's little sister right now.
Wow.
So we're currently a family of 6, and that's a big part of.
Ooh, I have a feeling we'll probably explore a little bit of that in this episode.
Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm an assistant principal. That's another big piece of who I am and what I do. And go here to Sherwood Oaks, live in Bloomington. My husband Rodney and I have been married for 12 years, which is bananas. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm in school right now, and I'm working on, I will be starting my dissertation soon, and I'm studying joy, like for real life.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're undergrad, grad?
So right now I'm working on my educational doctorate.
Okay.
So like not PhD, but it's called EDD.
Okay. All right. And it's on joy.
It's on joy.
Okay. Well, that's another topic that we're going to explore together today. And so I'm looking forward to getting into that with you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your faith journey. I like to think of it in that 30,000-foot view. So just give us a flyover of your faith journey, and then we'll kind of go down deeper into some pockets.
Sure. So I was born into a Christian family, and we were, I think, officially Protestant somewhere along the line. And then we started going to a non-denominational kind of mega church when I was in middle school. So I grew up in a Christian family, but I didn't start really having a relationship with Jesus until I was in high school.
Okay.
And so those weren't synonymous for me. Like going to church and being in a Christian family and having a relationship with Jesus weren't the same thing for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So then I became a Christian in high school, and I was baptized in high school again when I was older. And then I was like diehard, so passionate, so enthusiastic all through high school. And then when I was in college, I was a little bit listless, a little bit wandering.
Where did you go to college?
I went to IU.
You went to IU. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then I found Sherwood Oaks, and I plugged in here, and that helped me find my footing again. I got pointed back in the right direction. And I have been in pursuit of Jesus ever since. There are seasons, though, and I can see them clearly when I look back, but I don't always see them at the time, where I'm in pursuit and paying attention. And there are times where I take my eye off of Jesus and I sort of wander, just where I'm just not paying close attention. And those are usually the calmest times where I think I'm doing just fine. It seems that I just kind of like, I've got this, everything's okay. And I just kind of wander on my own accord.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a recurring pattern.
It's like that we do. We get a little bit lax in our spiritual disciplines and our faith. It kind of goes on cruise control.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's that 1 degree shift.
Yeah.
And before we realize, like, we're pursuing Jesus, 1 degree shift, and we're like, oh wait, where did he go, or where did I go? You know, he hasn't moved. Where did I go?
Right.
and so that course correction, like, no, I want to follow him. I want to pursue him.
Yeah, and that's kind of been my pattern probably since I was in my 20s. And I can just kind of see seasons of that where I'm on track and kind of off track, focused, not focused. Oh, come back.
I think that's the Christian life, though. Like, I don't think you're alone in that. Your story is yours and it's unique to you. But I think we would all say, oh, yeah, I've had those seasons.
Sure.
I've had those times.
I don't think I'm alone.
I think we look at even the people who literally followed Jesus. Mm-hmm. And they were kind of in that same boat, kind of having to keep their eyes on him.
Yeah.
So you mentioned high school.
Yeah.
And it seems like that was a pretty instrumental time in your life. What was it that kind of awakened your faith? Like, okay, this is real. We don't just go to church on Sunday, and I'm not just from a Christian family that has like good morals, but like I'm following Jesus here. Like I'm in Christ and Christ is in me. How did you get to that place?
I'm so glad you asked. I have a dramatic, like real life, Jesus working in our lives miracle kind of story. And I'd love to share it.
Please, let's go.
It's cool. So I was a sophomore in high school and I was unwell. I had stretched myself really thin. These patterns go way back. And I was striving for perfection across all areas. I was student body president. I was in really advanced classes. I was pushing myself really hard. That pressure came more from me than my parents.
Yeah, so it was like that internal pressure to perform, to be, you said perfect, right? In a lot of ways.
So I was just trying to kind of earn my worth, I guess. And I was completely exhausted. And I was overwhelmed, and I say this expression, like I was in the weeds. I was way off course. And I was so low, and I felt like no one actually knew how I was feeling because I was like still performing so well. My grades were good, and I was doing all of the right things. But I felt inside like I was at rock bottom.
Yeah, so externally, nobody would have been able to look at you and be like, ooh, Kelley's struggling. Because the facade still looked good.
Yeah.
But on the inside, that it was starting to crumble.
Yeah. And I was struggling with some disordered eating, trying to get that sense of control and aiming for this perfectionism that was completely false and unattainable. And I was very literally sitting on the floor of my bathroom by myself, crying when I was 16, crying. And I said, God, I need you to send help in a real way because I feel alone and lost. Then fast forward to later that evening. My dad was in insurance, and it was a party at our house for the interns, the summer interns at his insurance company. So game face, right? I literally washed my face and rallied and went downstairs and was ready to entertain these people because we were the hosts for the evening.
And that's what you do.
That's what you do. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And this guy, he was a few years older than I was. He was a college freshman at the time. We were in my basement, and we were getting ready to play air hockey, like an arcade thing in my basement. And he said, hey, this is going to sound really weird, but I just am supposed to tell you that God sent me here specifically for you tonight. And I'm just supposed to let you know that you don't have to be perfect and you're not alone.
Wow.
And I wept. And I mean, he was a complete stranger. I've never met this kid who's just letting God use him. And the rest of the interns were very uncomfortable in the situation. And they went upstairs and let me sob. I sat down there at the air hockey table, and he talked to me about how much Jesus loves me. And I accepted the gospel in the most visceral way. And I'd grown up hearing about it, but I needed Jesus, and he showed up in a way that I didn't know was possible in modern day.
Yeah.
And there he was.
And there he was.
And there he was.
It was that exact message that you needed to hear. And the tenderness of a father to know what his daughter needs to hear him say. Mm-hmm. And the availability of this young man to put himself in kind of an uncomfortable situation. Because he could have said that and you'd been like, okay, that was strange. I'm going to go upstairs now. But it was exactly what you needed. Mm-hmm. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So how did that moment shape the way that you see God and his faithfulness to you?
It made me realize how accurately the Bible portrays him when he says he'll leave the 99. He's here. It's not this elusive being. He's never too busy for me. He showed up when I needed him in the most concrete way. And I don't just find God in the Bible or in my prayers. He showed up in my home when I needed him and in my life and as a father, as you said. And so it just shifted everything. It wasn't just Christianity is what you do because it's the right thing to do. It was like God cares about me and loves me as his child.
It's like, this is real.
Yeah.
This is really real.
It's really real.
Yeah. I was reading through John chapter 1. Jesus is calling his first disciples. And that calling of Nathanael, right? Like, so Andrew goes to Nathanael. We found the Messiah, Jesus of Nazareth. Nathanael's like, Nazareth? Can anything good come from Nazareth? And he's like, oh, here he comes. And Jesus, and like, oh, there. Jesus looks at Nathanael, Hebrew of Hebrews. And Nathanael's like, you don't know me. How do you know me? And Jesus says, I saw you when you're at the fig tree. And I love the way that The Chosen, if you've seen any of those episodes, like depicts that. It's beautiful. It kind of shows Nathanael beforehand wrestling and having this moment and struggling as he was underneath the fig tree. And then Jesus showing up and saying, while you were there, I saw you. And it's kind of like that moment. That was like your fig tree moment. You were struggling.
Yeah.
You were in this deep, like, hurt and pain. And Jesus saw you in that place and spoke exactly what you needed to hear. And Nathanael's response when he heard that was, my Lord and my God. And Jesus was like, you haven't seen anything yet. And I imagine in your life, that was like the, my Lord and my God, and Jesus going, oh, Kelley, you haven't seen anything yet of what I want to do in your life.
Yeah.
But that just gave you the confidence that this God that's going to lead me into deeper waters, that's going to stretch me and ask things of me that are going to be hard, he's with me. He's with me.
Yeah, confidence is an interesting way to put it. That is so accurate. It did give me the confidence, but it was also this like unabashed enthusiasm where I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I could believe it because it was real and it really happened, but all I wanted to do was talk about Jesus. Like, I wanted to shout it from the rooftops. Like, I wanted everyone to know how he had shown up for me in this way. Like, this miracle happened. Like, this thing just happened to me, and I'm different. And can anyone tell? Like I just wanted to just talk about him all the time. Yeah.
Could people tell?
Yeah.
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 You talked about, perfection, performance, looking good on the outside. I mean, all of that. That is like identity language. That's worth and value and where we find that stuff. And I think it's true when we are students. I think it's true when we're adults. Every age and stage of life. If I could just find my full identity in Jesus, in who he says that I am, man, everything would change. There is a peace that comes with that. There's a joy that comes with that. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have it all together. And it sounds like you experienced that that night.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it didn't just flip a switch and then you never struggled with those things again.
No, certainly not.
But how have you, over the course of your adult life, how have you found your identity and your worth in Christ?
I would love to tell you that I always find my identity in Christ. I would love to tell you that. I think this is the hardest lesson for me to learn in my whole life. I think this is the hardest thing I'm learning all the time. And I'm learning it still all the time. But the truth is I stumble here more than I don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even after that night, even after it was so clear that my identity comes from Jesus.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's layers to it. I think I like being considered a high capacity person. I like being considered very capable. It's also a direct result of my childhood. I was kind of the responsible, problem-solving kind of person in a medium chaotic household.
Mm-hmm.
And, kind of a peacemaker and things like that. And I knew from so early that I was an educator, like that I was going to be a teacher in some way. I played school as a kindergartner and I just never grew out of it. Like I knew I was very hardwired for that. I was going to be an educator. And so it got tangled. It's like all tangled up because it's my calling.
That's really insightful.
But it's not my identity. And so when I would get feedback that you're meant to do this, or that you're great at this, or that you have this natural gift here, every time I got that feedback, I would put it on like this patch. And then the opposite is also true. When I got any of the feedback that you need to work in this area, or you fell short here, or this didn't work for you this time.
Just crushing weight.
Crushing.
Yeah.
And for someone that spends an exorbitant amount of time like focusing on and studying like growth mindset, that feedback just crushed me. Like I want to think of myself as someone who grows into these things, but I like it's such a hard time separating that from my worth. And so even though I know that my identity is found in Christ, I'm still striving to earn it all the time.
Yeah.
And I can learn that lesson 1,000 times, 50 times a day. And I'm still struggling to get it.
Yeah. I absolutely get that. And I think it is one of the reasons why Scripture tells us to take every thought captive.
Yeah.
Like every time that thought comes in, it's like, man, we've got to grab onto it. And like, is this true?
Yeah.
Is it kind? Is it helpful?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then what am I going to do with it? Am I going to allow it to keep going in, or like no? And then the next time it comes, doing that same thing again.
Yeah.
I have found that the things that we are, most naturally, it just comes out of our personality, or it is a giftedness. It becomes the temptation of where we find our identity and our meaning and our value. And that can either inflate us or it can deflate us. And so it can inflate us when we feel like, man, I'm crushing it, getting it done, and people are responding to it. And it feels like love, right? Like when we receive those things, it feels like love. I'm valuable, I matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we don't get those things, or we get the opposite of those things, then the opposite of love, right? And then we start feeling like, oh, I'm not enough, and I don't matter, and I don't have meaning. And those are two really dangerous places for us to be. And it sounds, you've kind of fluctuated in between all of those. I appreciate you letting us into that space. I know how much I've struggled with that. I imagine people that are listening right now have really struggled with that. And so what would you say to them? What would you say to me? What would you say to yourself, Kelley, when you find yourself in that place where you are either kind of inflated, I've got it, I'm good, I'm going to find my worth value in this, or deflated, I'm worthless, I can't do anything right, I'm no good. What would you say to someone in one of those places?
Well, when I'm in either of those places, I know that those are both times where I've taken my eyes off of Jesus. That's that 1 degree shift.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have that kind of self-talk when I'm focused on Jesus, because I'm listening to his voice and what is true. And when I take my eye off of him, then I start listening to other words.
That's when all of those other voices start coming in.
Yeah. And I have a way harder time discerning them. They feel true. They're warped, right?
Yeah.
Anytime I look back on when I feel inflated or deflated, it's when I have taken my eyes off, and it's just harder to discern what is true about myself and who I am. But I need like a shock collar.
Yeah, so like get you back in line.
Like whatever the equivalent is of like rumble strips, to be like, whoa, you're like, hang on, no, like you're veering, because I don't know it. I don't always know it. And so, just a little shift, and then I'm over or under, like overinflated or under deflated or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and that's where time in the Word,
Yeah.
prayer, friends who are following after Jesus, like those become like our rumble strips to make sure that we're staying the course and listening to the right voices.
You're right.
That's good. Well, thank you for going into that, and we'll you have so many great things in your life that you are a part of that are a good and healthy part of who you are and an expression of who you are. And being a foster parent, adoptive parent, mom, wife, it's not solely who you are, but it's a big part of who you are and who God has made you and the ways that you get to serve him and others. Fostering, man, I've got so much appreciation and respect for people that choose to go into foster care. There was a time when Amber and I were looking and thinking about who are like just the most influential people in our life. And a common denominator, I think, of all but like one of them was that they were foster parents, either currently foster parents or had been at one time or another.
Wow.
So what was it that led you and Rod to get into foster care?
So I have to go backwards to go forward. So the guy that showed up for me in high school, his mom told me that she had a vision for my life. And they were part of a vineyard church, which was fascinating. That was a fascinating experience. But she said, I see that you're a tree providing shelter for children when you grow up. And I kind of took that, I was 16, and I was like, all right. Okay. So that was interesting. And so fast forward several years, and I knew before I was married that I wasn't going to be able to have biological children, or that was unlikely. And that was never particularly stressful for Rodney and I. And we didn't go far down that path at all because we were going to be parents. We knew we were going to be parents. And so it's kind of, I don't know if that's unusual for us, but that wasn't a huge source of heartache.
Yeah.
We knew that we were going to be parents and that our children were out there.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of how it was for us. And so we didn't know which avenue we were going to pursue or what our family was going to look like. I used to joke when I was younger that I wanted my dinner table to look like a United Nations. And for the record, we're pretty close, actually. The most diverse dinner table you've ever seen. And so we were exploring international adoption and local adoption, but the financial barrier was, the financial aspect was a huge barrier.
It requires quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a classroom teacher. My husband's a nurse. We were in our late 20s and we could adopt, but then not afford life.
Yeah.
Was sort of what it felt like. And so we prayed about it a lot. We were like, well, we know we have children. We just don't know what this looks like. And then my sister was like, have you heard of foster through adopt? And I was like, or adopt, fostering to adopt. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about it. And that was immediately clear. That was such a clear thing. Rodney and I both had an unreasonable amount of peace about it. You shouldn't have any peace in foster care. You should not have
that much peace
going
into foster care?
Not at all, no. It was unreasonable. And so we signed up. We did our first round of paperwork that day, and our son came home 6 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's quick.
Yes.
That's quite a journey.
It's very quick, yeah.
That is quite a journey.
Yeah.
So you went through the classes and
all the
did
things.
All of that. And
at warp speed because we're excited.
Yeah.
Again, we shouldn't have been that excited. We didn't know, bless our hearts. We didn't know how complicated it was all going to be. So we went through all the classes and all the things and the caseworkers and our home inspections and everything. We bought fire extinguishers. We did everything. And then we got a call. We weren't quite finished being licensed. And they said, we have a baby for you. And that's also, not always the case. He was 5 weeks old. He was 4 weeks old at the time of the call. So they had to finish our paperwork quickly. And we got to meet him a few days after that. And then our first little one came home.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
You mentioned the excitement about it and maybe a little bit of not knowing fully what you're getting into. And, when I knew we were going to explore this topic, and there's this expectation of foster care, and then there's like the reality of foster care. And it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you've ever seen one of those memes of like how it started, how it ended. And so it's like this dad holding his newborn daughter and then walking her down the aisle, or a teacher on the first day of school, and then picture of the teacher after the first week and like all frazzled. And
Totally.
so like foster care has some of that. Like how it started is, oh, we're so excited, we're in this. And then how it's going is, oh, wow, this is pretty intense. What is something about the foster care system that people may not know, that maybe you guys didn't know when you got into it, or just even about the experience of being foster parents?
We didn't know anything. Bless our hearts. We didn't know anything about
Bless our hearts.
parenting or foster care or just the system in general. And like the system, like the larger foster care system. We had great intentions and absolutely no idea. That's just the truth. And I wouldn't change that. That's okay. That was an okay place to start.
I think sometimes that's walking by faith.
Yeah.
Great intentions, no idea what we're about ready to get ourselves into, but we're trusting.
Yep. And now we have our precious family. And but I think there's a few things. One, I think really, really important thing. We had this incredible teacher who taught our classes. And even now, when we re-entered kind of unexpectedly the foster care system 7 years later, we found him and continued to go to his classes. Yeah, he's amazing. And he has taught us so much about co-parenting and what it's like to navigate life with biological parents.
Yeah.
And that has been a game changer. He shifted the way we think about our children's parents. And it has brought so much peace to our lives and to our children. We have open adoptions with everybody.
Okay.
And that is not where we started. We assumed that wouldn't be the case if we ever adopted. The way he taught us was that your biological parents are part of your children. And if you close that door entirely, you're sending a message to your children that you are closing the door to the part of your children that is them. And that isn't something I had heard. And there are all kinds of reasons and safety reasons and boundaries. And I'm not saying that that's the right answer for everybody.
Sometimes closed adoption is the best way to go. Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that's a perspective we hadn't heard. And it changed things for us right away. Like we both heard that and it sunk in deep. And that was the message that we needed to hear. That made us want to navigate things with our biological parents, where before it felt, this is harsh, but our mentality was sort of an us versus them. That's the way it felt in our minds.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Right? Like we will end up with the children or they will, and there was no collaboration or long-term relationship. That's not how we saw this going. And because of the way he helped us think about it, we have a very peaceful long-term relationship with both families. Now, granted, that's not always what's best. But in our case, it worked out that way. That was incredible. So that was something that I think was important for us to learn, is that navigating life with or alongside biological parents can be really neat if you're open to it.
Yeah. It can be really challenging. I mean, it comes with challenges. There's a reason why the children are in foster care. And so I know oftentimes foster parents have to really wrestle with feelings of judgment, of anger, and come to a place of like, how do I love this person who has caused so much pain in the life of someone that I love so much, this child that I love so much?
Yeah.
But I think that the commitment, again, when it is healthy and appropriate, the commitment to say, we're going to work through this for the good of the child. And if the bio parents are willing to do that, man, what a beautiful opportunity to show them what grace looks like, what working through hard stuff in relationships looks like. They're learning lessons in that right there.
That's been huge for us. It is by far the most challenging thing we've ever done. And I think maybe not always, but in our case, it's particularly challenging for me as the mom to navigate, because we're navigating with two bio moms and we're not navigating with bio dads.
Yeah.
So sharing that relationship in that way, I'm undoubtedly our child's primary parent. Rodney and I are their mom and dad. But in our girls' life, their bio mom, who we love dearly, has settled in as kind of like an aunt figure. I mean, we see her regularly.
Yeah.
It's really special. And because of our open relationship with our son's mom, she's the one that called us when she needed somewhere safe for her daughter, our son's little sister. Mm-hmm. And I was in the room when that sweet baby girl was born. Like, we kept that relationship intact, and it's been incredibly challenging. But in our case, that's how it was meant to be. And so trying to think through the whole picture in terms of what is in the best interest of the child, and it's not always what's the most peaceful for the adults. Whew.
That's a good word. What's in the best interest of the child is not always the most peaceful for the adult.
Yeah. And it's the most humbling, most challenging, most difficult thing that I've certainly ever navigated. It would definitely be easier for me if it was all just closed up, neat as a pin, right? But that's not how we do. So
you chose the difficult path, or God led you into the difficult path. But either way, you're saying, this is what we're going to walk down this.
Yeah. So that's a big one, is just that open-minded, at least, and again, knowing what's safe and what boundaries need to be in place and all of those things. I'm not saying to be unwise there, but I think the biggest thing is that the system is dysfunctional, but that you don't have to have faith in the system. And I don't mean that to sound casual or cliche, but that God has plans for all of these children's lives already.
Yeah.
It's broken. God didn't mean for these children to end up in foster care. This is because of sin, right?
Right. This is not the ideal situation.
But God has plans for these children. And so when people say things like, I'd be so scared, and aren't you so scared? Usually I'm not. Because I know that God has a plan for their life. Mm-hmm. I don't hold on to that as like a trope that's painted on my wall. It is the only thing that allows me to do this. Because I don't have to trust this broken system that man put together. I trust that God knows every hair on their head, right? And I don't know what will happen tomorrow. But I also wouldn't if they're my biological children.
That's right.
They're God's children. And they're with me as long as he wants them with me. And I don't say that casually. Mm-hmm. They will be in my family for as long as that is the plan. And I don't have to panic about the outcome, because he's got it all worked out.
You just kind of get to surrender in this. Here I am, Lord, use me. You know, and he's just saying, we have a home, we have love, we have rooms. We want to care for the people that you care about, for the children that you care about, for as long as you want us to do it.
And for someone who really looks to control the outcomes, this is one that is so impossible to predict and control. We have an unreasonable peace around fostering, and that only comes from God.
Yeah.
And so each night when we tuck our little one in, and our kids all the way through foster care, and our little one right now who's in foster care, every single night, I say, God has a plan for your life. And I don't know what it is, but it's going to be good. And she's 2, and now she says it. So, but when we tuck her in, she says, and God has a plan for my life. It's going to be good.
And it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet.
I mean, we have no choice but to live by that when you're in foster care and you don't know what the next step is.
So parenting of any kind, serving the Lord in any way, it oftentimes requires sacrifice. It is giving something of ourselves up. Comfort, finances, peace, a free night, whatever
check.
is. Yeah, check all the boxes right there. The blessing on the other side of the sacrifice, while it may not look like what we would draw up, is pretty amazing. And when we get to it, it's like, oh, I would do it all over again. And so what would you say to maybe the person that's listening right now that is wondering, should I become a foster parent? Is it worth it? I can only see the obstacles and the sacrifices in front of me that I'm going to have to make. But I've got an open bed in my home. and there's a child who needs it, and I kind of feel like I should open it up for them. What would you say to a person who's in this struggling state?
For me, it feels like an immediate do it. Do it. It's the most incredible experience we've ever had. But I feel like somewhere along the line, Dawson's and Foster just kind of went together. I don't know. We've become synonymous. But I would encourage anyone who feels called to do it. Not only is there, right now in the state, an incredible shortage and we need it desperately, but if you feel compelled to open your home to someone who needs it, first of all, there's a reason. That's certainly not a random.
If you're feeling that pull, there's probably a reason.
I sure think so. And then the experience is unlike anything else. And I can't compare the firsts with fostering with biological children because I don't have any biological children.
Right.
But the firsts are remarkable. The first time I was called mom by our girls that came home at 5 and 6, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it because that wasn't a given. That was the most incredible gift, right? It wasn't ever assumed that we would get to that place or that I would earn that role, that name. Oh my goodness. Yeah. They used to call us Kelley and Wad. Anyways, it's incredibly challenging, and navigating courts and CASAs and caseworkers, and those things are difficult. But connecting with a child who is in the middle of chaos and providing that stability is an opportunity that can change their lives forever, even if it's short term. And I think it's a risk worth taking.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And like you said, the need is out there. It's not going away.
Yeah.
It's getting worse, and it's getting greater. My wife, Amber, she is a CASA. She was a volunteer CASA and now works for CASA in Lawrence County. And she's got several kids who are local. Their case originated in Lawrence County, but the closest foster family is up in Fort Wayne or up north part of the state or over near Richmond. There's just a shortage of foster families here in our communities.
Yeah.
And so I would say if you are feeling that and sensing that, it could be the Lord saying, trust me as I lead you into these deeper waters, like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And it's something that you don't have to do alone. There are foster care support groups and networks, and there are ways to get plugged in because it's an intense and unique kind of experience. And it's nice to be connected to other people who are going through it or have gone through it. And there are lots of ways to get plugged in.
Where should somebody go if they're interested in doing that? Who do they reach out to?
So you could get licensed directly through the Department of Child Services, the DCS, or there are also smaller local agencies. There are different ways, like the Villages. DCS is where that does a lot.
Okay.
And that's a very straightforward process. And you go online to the DCS website and click a button and start your paperwork.
And start the adventure.
Yeah.
Start the adventure.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. You had mentioned Foster and Dawson are synonymous. Another word that I think is synonymous with Kelley is joy.
Oh.
And we mentioned it earlier. You are pursuing this further education in joy. I mean, but not only that, you just exude it. When people talk about you, joy is one of those words that comes to mind. Has that always been the case for you?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think maybe. I think that is how God hardwired me.
Yeah.
I think perhaps.
Yeah.
And
even going back to that moment in high school, I'm sure there were probably times where you wanted to be known as the joyful person, right? And so you had to kind of fake it until you make it. But as you've grown, I imagine too, that joy has become a little bit more genuine. It's authentic. It really now is not just who you want to be and who you want to be known as. It's who you are. And people see that in you. Comes naturally, maybe. God hardwired you that way. But is there a way that you kind of cultivate joy in your life?
Yes, definitely. I love that question because it's not just about for me, primary source of joy is being plugged into God. And when I'm on track and focused on him.
Eyes fixed on him, identity, worth, all of those things.
Right? That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And so circumstances don't rattle me, right? Or I mean, they still rattle me, right? But
they don't fully knock you off course.
They don't
they
knock
may
me off
shake
course.
you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so there's sort of the idea of being like bubbly, and then there's a deeper sense of joy. And I think as I've gotten older, that deeper sense of joy has grown.
It's like there's a settledness of I can find joy. And I'm not going to be joyful for everything that happens in my life, but I can find joy in everything that happens in my life. And there is a little bit of just a settling that happens in our soul when we commit to living in that way.
Yeah. And so you asked if there was anything to like cultivate that.
Yeah.
And so, yes, the pursuit of joy, that's my jam. I am fascinated by joy. I am taking something that is lovely and light, and I am analyzing it and quantifying it and making it really like analytical. No, I really do though. I'm so interested in it because I think there are a lot of people, I know there are a lot of people who think it's sort of like frivolous or superfluous. And gosh, now more than ever, I can't imagine how hopeless I would feel if I didn't have that sense of joy.
Yeah.
Right? I just can't imagine what our family life would feel like, or work, or world. My goodness. So I love to study it. And the more I learn about it, the more strategies I have for how to find it in those dark or difficult times.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's certainly not all sunshine and rainbows.
It's not.
Right?
It's not. Any practical thing that you can think of right off the top of your head that someone could put into practice of finding some joy in their life?
Well, one of my favorite practices came from you.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm not joking.
That's great.
Yeah. I have 2 alarms set every day. So a while back, I asked you about just feeling overwhelmed and that I felt like I was at capacity. I didn't know how to like keep pace my day and then show up well for my family. Mm. And you said that at different points in the day, you just surrender everything to God. And I have adapted that for public school.
Yeah.
It just isn't, it's just a slight shift. And so twice a day, a little alarm goes off on my phone and it's a picture of sunshine. I said it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. This is one sunshine and the other one's a rainbow. But it's cool because people ask me what they're for. And then I can share. Yeah. And so I love that.
Oh, that's
and so there, whatever is going on and whoever I'm with, whether it's a student having a hard time or I'm in a meeting, it doesn't matter. The alarm goes off and I say, hey, let's find something to be joyful for. And we do whatever in the moment from the day. And so they go off at 10:15 and 3:15. And so twice a day.
That. So twice a day an alarm goes off and reminds you to find something that you can be joyful about.
Yep. From the day.
And I'm sure from that day. And I'm sure that there are times where that hits and it's not immediately in front of you. And you've got to kind of think.
Yeah.
But it is that reminder that, no, I don't have to be joyful for everything, but I can be joyful in everything. And to find where that joy is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I love that I remember that conversation and that's kind of led to this. That's beautiful.
It did. And so cool. Now there have been times where I'm, with people, whoever I'm with, like I will tell them what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, everybody knows now. And so students will practice with me and teachers or whoever I'm with. And there have been other adults now who have adopted the same practice, which is neat.
It's like Poppy on Trolls. You've got the little
alarm
that
alarm?
goes off, the little hug alarm. It's like,
I'm not a hugger.
It's the little joy alarm.
Right, exactly. Someday all over Bloomington, the 10:15 alarm. It's like, it's like joy all over. Yeah.
Well, hey, let's do it. I mean, if you're listening to this right now, just pull out your phone and maybe just start with 10:15 and 3:15.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just start there. And whenever those go off, just find something in the moment that you can be joyful in. and invite others around you to do the same.
I love it.
That's beautiful.
And know that there's someone else doing the same
And know
thing.
that there's someone else doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we probably just need a little bit more of that. And I think that there's a reason why joy is a fruit of the Spirit. It is part of what God wants us to experience in our life. And as we follow him, it is something he wants to grow in us. And that's, you talk about the kindness of a father that meets us when we are at our lowest and invites us into a life that is defined by love and joy and peace, patience and kindness and all of those things. Man, there's nothing superfluous. I can't say that word.
Yeah. Superfluous.
Superfluous. There you go.
I learned it from the Grinch.
From the Grinch. Ironic that we're talking about joy in the Grinch.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But like, it's incredible. And he designed our bodies for it, right? So when we're thinking about something joyful, those chemicals are released. Those
endorphins.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't believe I didn't remember.
We're helping each other out with words.
But they, right? Those endorphins are released. So the norepinephrine and the serotonin are released, and it literally is like altering the chemistry in that moment.
Yeah.
And he designed it for that on purpose.
Yeah.
To be like,
amazing.
Whew. Yeah. It's like that shift, and then it makes that next project just a little bit more joyful.
Yeah.
That next conversation.
We could go on about this. We're recording this on, March 12th.
Yeah.
This weekend, I'm going to be preaching on prayer and celebrating and finding joy and practicing that in our prayer. And that's what, Paul tells us in Philippians 4, to whatever is true, right, noble, excellent, praiseworthy, think about those things. And there is something, like when we think about the good, it just releases something in us that it's like physically,
literally,
that is the way.
Yeah.
And it just always blows my mind. Modern psychology is just catching up to what God designed and what Paul knew, that anxiety and joy cannot reside in the same space. They can't. And so when we practice joy, it pushes the anxiety out. Doesn't make the thing go away, doesn't change it. There's still other things that we may need in our life to help with that anxiety. But man, it is a weapon that God has given us as we walk through a world that's not always filled with a lot of joy. In fact, it's oftentimes filled with a lot of pain.
Yeah.
A lot of heartache.
And it's not ignoring the reality. It's not rose-colored glasses.
That's right.
It's not, I'm only going to acknowledge the things that are fun. It's not what joy is.
Yeah.
Joy is, I see what is hard and heavy, and I'm still choosing to hold on to the bright spots.
Yeah.
So that I can carry this, or help you carry this, or love you through this, and not turn hard and bitter, right? It's the lifeline through so many of these things.
Yeah. I think it is an act of faith, because we are choosing to see the long road, not just the short that's right in front of us. And we're choosing to say, as Claire Roth said in one of our episodes, this is the short part, eternity is the long part.
I love that.
And when we are able to focus on eternity, we are able to echo Paul's words that sometimes feel insensitive in our light and momentary trouble. But compared to the everlasting, ongoing, eternal joy of heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is light and it is temporary.
Yeah.
And we have reason to be joyful because of our faith.
Yeah, we do.
And the hope that we have. Kelley, I want to wrap up with this. Looking back on your journey, what is one truth about God that you hold on to the most?
That he loves me no matter what. And there is nothing I could do to earn or lose his love. Just no matter what. He's there and he's steady.
Doesn't matter how well you perform. He's not going to love you more. It doesn't matter how bad of a day you have. He's not going to love you less.
No matter what.
Yeah.
It's just
faithful and consistent.
Yeah. That's the most peaceful thing. That's the most peaceful thought I have in my whole life.
You had mentioned earlier, as we were preparing for this interview, that a passage of scripture that's really been influential in your life is Jeremiah 17:7-8. I just want to read that because I think that it fits with what you just said. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit. And that all stems when we trust in the Lord and our confidence is in him. Not in ourselves, not in our performance, but it's in him. Final question. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really, it's brought me joy.
Yeah, me too.
All my endorphins and everything are firing. But if you can encourage someone listening who is struggling with their worth or is maybe facing a difficult calling, they know what they need to do and they're a little afraid. What would you say to the person struggling with their worth or facing a bit of a difficult calling right now in their life?
I'd say in the truest, most visceral way, draw near to Jesus. Just whether it's getting on your knees and crying out to him, or getting into the word, but whatever that means for you is drawing near to Jesus, because he has not left you. He will not leave you. He's right there with you. If he's calling you into this, if you're afraid of what happens next, you are not alone at any point in any of it. And so whatever that means to you is to just draw near, let him draw you near.
Trust and see what he has. Surrender and see what lies ahead.
Yeah. And gosh, and when you ask him to draw you near, the comfort and the peace that comes with it, I mean, beyond all understanding.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kelley, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah.
This has been so good. I appreciate you. And if you have, listener, if you have anything that you need to talk about or want to talk about or follow up and you have questions of something that, Kelley said, I know we would love to come alongside and help address those. And I'm sure Kelley as well would be more than happy.
Yeah.
To talk to you. You'll often find her serving at our Welcome Center on a Sunday morning or shuffling kids around downstairs in
also
our
true.
Sherwood Kids ministry.
Yeah.
Kelley, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been so fun.
That's it.
That's it.
That's a wrap.
Okay.
Let me make sure that I hit the right button.
Thank you for listening to this message from Sherwood Oaks Christian Church. Did you know you can watch all of our video content, both current and past, on our YouTube channel? Visit youtube.com/SherwoodOaks to watch messages, series, and complete worship services.